Well, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to contribute to this debate because in discussing the economy in this House, it is, I believe, well past time that we had a bit of perspective and a lot more honesty. When they look to this Parliament, the Irish people are entitled to expect better than fairy tale economics and the politics of denial. We need to be upfront with the people about how we got into this crisis and what it will take to get out of it. It is wrong to peddle false solutions, but it is right to be hopeful about the future. Ireland will emerge from this crisis. We will create jobs, we will improve living standards, we will create opportunities for our young people, and we will, as a country, move on. These are the tests. Economic recovery is not about statistics, it's about people. It's about a better life for families who are suffering from the loss of jobs or income, who are struggling to get by and manage debt, or who have been separated from each other by forced immigration. It is recovery for people that matters most. This government, in which the Labour Party is a partner, has one overriding objective: to secure economic recovery. In the 19 months since this government took office, important progress has been made. Our country is in a far better position now than it was at the end of 2010. We all know that more remains to be done, but we also need to be realistic and clear-sighted about what can be done. Let's take one of Sinn Féin's favourite catchphrases: austerity. We're constantly told by those who like simple slogans that the government is pursuing a policy of austerity. No, we're not. The government's policy is not about austerity, it's about solvency. In November 2010, under the Fianna Fáil government, we reached a point where no one would lend to the Irish state. Why? Because after the property bubble, activity in the economy fell by 10% in 2 years, the deficit skyrocketed, and Fianna Fáil, with the support of Sinn Féin, guaranteed the losses in a broken banking system. This didn't come from nowhere. Fianna Fáil are now trying to give us lectures on economics when the reality is that it was they who destroyed the country. Let's be clear too, that when a country can't borrow money, it's a problem not just for the government, but for the banks in that country and for the companies headquartered in that country, because lenders become unwilling to advance them money either. The result is a credit squeeze which can have hugely damaging impact right across the economy. Restoring the creditworthiness of the state is an essential prerequisite, not just for exiting the programme, but for maintaining a functioning economy. Of course, thanks to the bank guarantee brought in by Fianna Fáil and supported by Sinn Féin, the fate of the banks and the fate of the state were already deeply intertwined. Unwinding the damage done and reconstructing the banking system so that it can contribute to recovery has been a central concern of government. If the opposition can point to a functioning modern economy anywhere whose government and multinational companies cannot borrow money on the open market, then we are all ears. If the opposition can point to a country whose economy can flourish without a functioning banking system, then please enlighten us. And if the opposition can explain how we can continue to pay for valuable public services while continuing to spend far more than we earn, then let them lay it on the table. We can have all the discussions you like about austerity, but let's be clear about one core fact. If you don't have control of your public finances, then you don't control your destiny. I believe in public services. I believe in having good schools and good hospitals and safe streets. I believe in them so much that I don't want to hand decisions about those things over to foreign banks or lenders of last resort. The bottom line is that every slogan rattled off by Sinn Féin, every drum beaten by the May Féin brigade that calls itself an alliance, is about policies that take us backwards, back to the isolation that has been supported by some people who have opposed every single EU referendum since 1972. Instead, this government strategy is about making progress grounded in a difficult reality. The yield on Irish government debt has fallen, and while markets can always be expected to rise and fall, there has been significant improvement in the Irish position. Since the European Council in June, yields on Irish debt have come in by about 1%, and sentiment towards Ireland in debt markets is improving. It will take some time for that to feed through to the real economy, but it is an essential component of what we have to do. We have always made it clear that there is no solution without jobs and growth, and that financial stability is only a step on the way to that growth. That is why we have taken a series of measures to improve the flow of credit in the economy. The financial reform programme is based on the construction, from the wreckage of the bubble, of two pillar banks with capacity to lend into the real economy. At the same time, a series of measures like the Partial Credit Guarantee Scheme and the Micro Enterprise Scheme have been put in place to help viable small businesses expand and to grow employment. The Government is currently examining insolvency legislation for small companies to facilitate the working out of debt for small and medium enterprises who are encumbered by large debts. And the Strategic Investment Fund has developed a number of initiatives both to support investment in new start-ups and is examining ways of investing in the restructuring of small businesses. We are seeing a return to growth, driven by higher export-intensive activity by the IDA and by our embassy network and by several government agencies, which has helped to transform the view of Ireland abroad. Evidence that this work is paying off is clear in the strong pipeline of investments in the Irish economy. Foreign investment has created over 9,000 jobs since March 2011. It is also particularly important to see the implications for construction employment of several of the FDI projects that have been announced in recent times. We have also seen important progress among Irish SMEs, which have developed new markets. In France, for example, Enterprise Ireland has supported double-digit growth in Irish exports, with particular emphasis on construction products and food. Export performance generally has been strong despite the problems of the Eurozone. The core problem, however, remains the domestic economy, where consumption has been a drag on growth. The IMF noted recently, for example, that the savings ratio of 14% means that households in Ireland are rapidly reducing their indebtedness. The problem, however, is that the pace of paying down debt by the household sector as a whole is a drag on growth. If the savings ratio were to come down by only 4%, it would add 1% to GDP. Here, the mortgage market is absolutely critical. It is vital, both on grounds of human decency and for the health of the economy, that the banks start working through their distressed mortgages and offering restructuring arrangements to customers. At the other end, new mortgage lending is necessary to ensure that the signs we have recently seen of a more positive housing market are maintained. Normalisation of the property market is an important component of economic recovery, just as dealing with the position of people in mortgage arrears is also important to confidence in the economy as a whole. The Government has taken a series of measures to bolster domestic activity. The Jobs Initiative, with its particular focus on hospitality, which has been followed up by the Gathering and by the Action Plan on Jobs, is a boost to activity in tourism. That modest Jobs Initiative has already provided a spur to growth, with 10,500 more people now working in the tourism sector than there were before this Government took office in March of 2011. The stimulus package that will boost demand through infrastructure investment, budget measures to help bring normality to the property market have been introduced, and NAMA is making a €2 billion programme of investment in their own portfolio. My colleague Minister Joan Burton has brought forward the Job Bridge programme and is engaged in a major programme of reform to assist people on the live register in finding work. No one is saying that the rate of progress has been ideal, but it is wrong to say that no progress has been made at all. Ireland's position has significantly improved over the past 19 months. Its reputation abroad, the perception of its particular challenges. There is a far greater understanding now of Ireland's position and why we are seeking relief from the bank debt that was taken over by the state. Here again, we need a bit of perspective. There is no instant solution to this. The European Council conclusions of last June were a game changer, and Ireland has seen substantial improvements in bond yields since it happened. But the Government is setting no timetable for the completion of this deal. We have been absolutely clear that we will work at this issue until we get a result that is good for the country, and we will do so in private. We have made good progress this week with very positive discussions between Dublin, Paris and Berlin. These meetings have built on the hard work, day in, day out, of our small but talented diplomatic corps and by officials in the Department of Finance. There is constant engagement by officials and ministers with our colleagues in Europe at formal meetings, on visits and in meetings with our political families. In the past 2 weeks, for example, I have been in Paris. I attended a meeting with President Hollande in Brussels. The Taoiseach had a formal meeting with him on Monday, and the Taoiseach was in telephone conversation with Chancellor Merkel on Sunday, which resulted in the joint communiqué from them both, and I will be in Berlin on Friday. Minister Noonan, too, has been meeting his counterparts. That is the kind of constant work that we are engaged on to put forward Ireland's case. It is the kind of patient diplomacy that will get the result that we need, and we will succeed.